participants. There we go. There we go. Here, I think we got everybody. Hey, Annette and Elisa and Charles and Gary and Tim still at his sister's. Nice to see you. We're going to, we're going to kind of finish the Animus right now today, but I'd like to come back to it after. We'll start on the Anima next week, but it's just so, we just really have skimmed over it, it is so, I mean, there's just so much here. It's unbelievable. It's only 42 pages, but I just, it is really, we just really need to, I think, review it because I don't want it to just go past us. But how are you doing, Gary? You back to some power now, huh?
Oh yeah, power is always good. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, okay, great. Well, I mean, we can, I'll just kind of get started on a little bit here and let's see if we can, I just wanted to go over one or two things here to begin with, is this, oh wait, Angela's here. Just a second. There we go. Okay. Kevin is here today, and Charles, it's nice to see you. We yeah, this is just something that I've struck me is what we really are faced with is on the infrared side of the spectrum, we have the body. Hey Kevin, which is the instincts, and like they say all poems, if they don't make your bones vibrate, then they're not really poems. Every metaphorical aspect of life it comes from the marrow of our bones. The meaning of our life is really inert in the body. And the spirit, and the body is time bound, space bound, earth bound. It's concrete reality. Yet it has this relationship with something that is not limited or restricted by time or space or the material realm. And so what the body does, the consciousness of the body speaks in metaphors, and the soul is the mediator for these metaphorical things. And then the spirit provides a meaning for them, this thing that's outside of us, and this is the animus. Now, it's very interesting. Today we're going to discuss about how the animus appears in in the images of the unconscious, and it's very different from what you would think it would be. Logos. It's very nature oriented. It's very related to music, and really vibrations or something. And it also, this thinking aspect of the logos in the animus anyway is not the type of thinking that Einstein does. It is this combination of it's the thinking of the Lord of Spirits, Wotan. It's very related to the to this realm of the thinking that's done in fairy tales and dreams. And so when a woman wants to participate in the mental world on a natural basis, on a basis that's connected with her life destiny and not with how to build a rocket ship, she should be focusing on things like her dreams and her visions, and using, and then having the animus help her with the meaning that can come out of there, from and that what the spirit is impersonal. The feminine principle is immediate. It's here right now. It's practical, and it is also uh, always related to another human being, where the spirit is always objective, removed from reality, not immediate. It's abstract, and yet we need that. You know, that is what at the end of the thing, Young, or Emma Young says, lifts us, lifts the woman to her, allows her to become an individuated being. You know, this aspect of this meaning. Think about it. We're going to go through the just the wonderful ways it appears. You know, so I'll get rid of this here. So anyway, it is the anima. We in our dreams and visions. Now we're concentrating on this, and this will tell us a lot about what the animus is. You know, is how does it appear in visions and dreams, particularly because not a lot of people do active imaginations. But but here we can, in our dreams, we can actually recognize a person or a figure that is not us, but yet represents the animus. So now we have know the animus is distinct from us, you know, and in it's we can discriminate between ourselves and the animus. And the problem a lot of women have, especially highly educated women, is and the same problem that the man has, is that where the man is devoured by the mother, the woman is devoured by the animus, or the father principle. And you know, the active imaginations of Anna Marjula, that whole thing was the story of how she climbed out of the belly of the whale of her animus, who had devoured her, you know. And it was just a beautiful story. And both her and the woman in Gerhard Adler's book lived a life without really any meaningful relationships with the opposite sex, because they were so possessed by the animus. You know, they were actually tended to be, both of them were thinking function, very highly performing women. One was a diplomat, and the other one wasn't she just a wonderful musician? I think Anna Marjula was a wonderful musician, and the other woman was a diplomat, and you know, spoke a lot of languages. But they both had these similar experiences, but they did it through their visions, dreams, and their dreams, and having conversations and debates with the animus. Anyway, let's just go through some of them. Now she just does
I think
mention.
Annette has a question or a comment.
Yes, go ahead, Annette.
I think.
Yes. Did you have your
Sorry, no, I just actually said hello to, I was responding to somebody's comment who said earlier, Angel said hello to everybody, and I was just trying to say hello back. So that
Okay,
was
sure.
okay.
Well, all right, sure. Thank you, Annette. Yeah, it's good to see you too. You always are the best comments. Well, you know, the anima in a man, where the in the woman, it appears as a group of fathers, a council, a court, a gathering of wise men, or else this lightning quick change artist who can assume any form, who's just totally you know is a shape changer. You know, you can just change into any shape. Where in the man, the anima tends to always be represent the principle of relationship. And that's, she says, her explanation for it is that's how the only way man encounters the mother, the loved one, the sister, the daughter, the mistress, the priestess, or the witch. And he says, she says, even if it is a witch, there still is this relatedness principle here, where the man, because he is somewhat freed from the biological task, he is not a creature of relatedness. He's as a different task other than relatedness, and so he also seems to be the master of a lot of other activities, because he's freed up until until modern, we discussed this last time, up until the time of modern conveniences like electricity, gas, stoves, refrigerators, furnaces, and electric lights, and birth control. It was very difficult. What Emma Jung says, even in the 1930s, it was difficult for her to imagine what it was like to live in an age where a woman always had to be prepared to take on a child that could come at any time. She couldn't, it was just unknown how to, not have 18 children, and so it was, she always had to be ready for that, where, it kind of, in the 30s, they got it down to 5. And then, now we got it down to 2 or 1, So anyway, she's, the life of man has taken on this, so many more forms, Now, this ability to assume different forms is also not just happen in the outer world. It also is a characteristic quality of spirit. That spirit is mobile, can traverse great distances in a short time. Hermes, a thought, the speed of light. And Wotan is the Lord of Light. And it's also connected with this wish form of thinking. So this animus often appears as an aviator, a chauffeur, a skier, a dancer, where lightness or swiftness are to be emphasized. And so this transmutability, ability to change shapes and speed, are found in many myths and fairy tales as attributes of the gods or magicians. Again, we're talking about how do they appear in a woman's dreams? How does the animus appear? And visions. Remember, this is in the 1930s that she wrote this. So it is represented by Wotan, the wind god, the leader of the army of spirits, Loki, the flaming one, and Hermes with his winged heels. And he represents, or Mercury, it represents this aspect of logos, its living, moving, immaterial quality, and really just this dynamism. You see on that the right side of that little diagram I did, the fact that it's not earthbound. It is only the principle of a moving dynamism, just this thing, this catalyst of meaning, and where the body is fixed in one place, stays in one place. So that's how we sort of contact spirit. Just a second, I'm going to get Jan, our archivist, is just here. Okay, let's see. Hi, Jan. We haven't done too much yet here. We're just talking again about what we're talking about today is just the how the animus appears in dreams and visions, and dreams, and then active imaginations, really. And it appears again in, she just father, lover, brother, teacher, judge. This is dreams. Sage, sorcerer, artist, philosopher, scholar, builder, monk, trader, aviator, a man distinguished in some way by mental capacities or other masculine qualities. Now it can be, now there's three characters here of it, and it's wonderful because if you've had dreams, you'll know this. In a positive sense, it has a benevolent father, fascinating lover, understanding friend, or a superior guide. But it can also be a violent, ruthless tyrant, a cruel taskmaster, a moralist, a censor, a seducer, an exploiter, some pseudo hero who fascinates by his mixture of intellectual brilliance and moral irresponsibility. Now, we've all encountered that. And then it's also sometimes represented again by a boy, a child, a son, or a young male friend. Okay, Carlos is here. And okay, so the animus. Now we found out last time that when the
And I just ask a question about these examples.
Yes.
Yeah, because I actually, because of this series here, I actually got very active animus dreams again, and I moved more into active imagination. And in my dreams, initially it was more like a negative animus. It's appeared as a revenue, would you believe, and a revenue request, and like a very kind of distant animus, and
like the
yeah,
tax man.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. In that case, it would represent, someone who requires your attention, be paid.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
They need taxes or psychic energy. You owe them psychic energy. You are obligated to them. And
yes,
if you don't provide it, then there is going to be dire consequences. Now,
absolutely. I
yes,
just escaped. I just escaped. Yes.
yes, yeah. So I mean, it's really is a wonderful dream or a wonderful image. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
someone who's absolutely requiring tribute, and
Yeah.
it tells you too, you're not
Yeah.
the master in your own house.
Absolutely. Yes.
You need to pay someone rent. You're renting space in
Yes.
someone else's house, and you owe
Yeah.
them either rent or taxes or something, so
Yeah.
yeah, that is a wonderful image. The follow-up dreams will be very instructive too, so if
Yeah.
you are I know recording them, but I think
Yeah.
you'll see a series that occurs there too, but
Yeah.
that's wonderful, and that's going to be
Thank
very
you.
interesting compared to the stream series that she presents. And why don't we just jump into it?
Okay.
This is the dream series that she presents here, and the first one is of let's see, um, this is a woman who was she let's see she is a very accomplished woman, independent, had a lot of mental activity, but she was trying to detach herself from a person upon whom it had been projected. So she had come to Emma Jung for analysis. And here was her dream. There appeared then in the dream a bird-headed monster whose body was just a distended sac or bladder, able to take on any and every form. This monster was said to have been formerly in the possession of a man upon whom the animus was projected. It was initially in the form of a of the man that she had the relationship with, and the woman was warned to protect herself against it because it liked to devour people. And if this happened, the person was not killed outright, but had to continue living inside the monster. Just a second. Okay. And the bladder form points to something still in an initial stage. Only the head, which is the chief organ of the animus, is differentiated. And it's the head of a creature of the air, too. It's a bird-headed creature. And the rest of his form, any shape could arise. Now, this idea of the veracity of the animus is mentioned here. In this wonderful little thing here, there's the wind in truth is the all devourer. For when the fire dies out, it goes into the wind, and when the wind sets, it goes into the wind, and when the moon sets, it goes into the wind, and the waters dry up, but they go into the wind, for the wind consumes them all. And it's the all devourer. So this kind of represents this fact that she always mentions these women who seem very confident, and things, but they lack relatedness, and they solve their problems inappropriately because they don't use the feminine principle. They think the masculine principle is preferable because it's more admired in society, this more active, logical, rational way, rather than just the way of just understanding. You don't want when you have a problem, you often don't want someone to give you a solution. You just want them to give you comfort. And so that is the more the feeling way of doing it, where we're going to go in this where the man is, where often they, especially myself, I know Charles had this issue too, the dreams where the mother had devoured us. Often the woman has this devouring, and so she has this dream about this bladder that can possibly devour her. So this it's an elementary. Now she said, together with this bird-headed creature of the air appeared at the same time a fire spirit, this elementary being consisting only of flame in perpetual motion, calling himself the son of the lower mother. Okay. Now this is very interesting. You need the son of the lower mother. It's not something that, as long as you're conscious of it, but such a mother figure, in contrast to the heavenly light mother or the far distant father, embodies the primordial feminine as a power that is heavy, dark, earthbound, and its power is versed in magic. Okay, so the two things the Animus can give us, the son of the lower mother, would teach the woman the powers of sorcery, where the son of the higher mother or the son of the far distant father is going to teach her the principles of meaning. Now they're both important. I mean, they're not necessarily you throw one out, but so and then she says Emma Young says that this earthbound power sometimes is helpful, sometimes is witch-like, sometimes is uncanny, or can be destructive. And she recalls Loki of Norse mythology, this giant endowed with creative powers and a sly, seductive rascal who is connected with uncontrolled fires. But in Greek myth, there was a figure that appeared in women's dreams called who's compared with women figures in women's dreams, named Hephaestus, who was the god of the fire of the earth, and he was a smith. So he was a son of the lower mother, but he had a controlled fire, the fire of the hearth of the smith. So this earth fire spirit, the son of the lower mother, is close to women and familiar to her. Again, we're talking about the animus as it appears, not the one that's going to necessarily help us, but how she appears. He expresses himself positively in practical activity, particularly in the handling of material and in artistic treatments. Okay, so if you want to be an artist, then you need to be connected with the son of the lower mother, not the son of the higher father. You know, and it's expressed negatively in states of tension or explosive effect, fiery rages, and in a dubious or calamitous way. And it acts as a confederate or a companion to the primordial feminine. Okay. So, and it tends to be an instigator in what is generally termed witches' arts, but not necessarily. I mean, it's really, I would say it's also herbal medicines and things like that. You know, it isn't all, and what is a witch? You know, really, it's just a shaman. Let's not use the word witch. Let's just say this, it's generally connected with shamanic arts. How's that? You know, and it's characterized as a lower or inferior logos in contrast with a higher form, which appears as the bird-headed air creature. Okay, corresponding to the wind spirit or god Wotan or Hermes, who leads souls. So then we're going to look at the next dream. Probably have to rush through these a little bit if we're going to get to the music aspect. The next dream was, see if I got this one. Yeah. It's at the top here. This snake or dragon-like creature was represented in the picture together with the girl who was under his power. The dragon had the ability to stretch out in all directions, so there was no possibility for the girl to evade its reach. And at any moment, he could extend himself on whatever side she moved on, so she could not escape, you know. And so it's the girl who could be taken as our soul, the sense of the unconscious individuality. It's a constant recurring figure, and a dream has this only the shadowy outline with these blurred features, and but we're still entirely in its power, and each of our movements are observed and measured by it, by this dragon, so that escape seems impossible. Okay, now we went from the bladder vision, which was very undifferentiated, to this one, which is a little more differentiated. And then let's look at the third one, because this is the one where she kind of gets liberation, you know, and you know, and that maybe you'll have one that is like this from the taxman. But a magician is having one of his dancers perform before the king. Hypnotized by magic, the girl dances a dance of transformations, in which, throwing off one veil after another, she impersonates a motley succession of figures, both animals and men. But now, despite the fact that she has been hypnotized by the magician, mysterious influence is exerted upon her by the king. She goes more and more into ecstasy, and disregarding any orders from the magician to stop, she dances on till finally, throwing off her body like a last veil, she falls to the earth, a skeleton. The remains are buried. Out of the grave, a flower grows. Out of the flower, in turn, the purified woman, the white woman. You know. So I mean, that is that now contrast those three dreams. They're just very important. And the other thing is that she's so she's in the power of a magician whose commands have to be obeyed without choice. Now this is the sorcerer aspect. This is the son of the lower mother. Okay. But in the figure of the king, the magician now has an opponent who sets a limit to the powers that this sorcerer has. And he brings it about So she no longer dances at the command of the magician, but of her own volition. Okay. And the transformation that was previously only suggested now becomes a reality because was she was transforming into these animals and all these other things in the dances. That's transformation, but it was at the instruction of the animus, not of her own volition. So now transformation occurred of her own volition. She's not listening to the sorcerer who says, turn in now do a rabbit. She's not going to listen to him anymore. And so then she starts dancing her own dance. And she dies and is reborn as this purified woman. And this, with the doubling of the animus figure, and magician and king, uh, represented the how she transformed. She transformed into the purified form because she had now a connection with the higher animus, who's represented by the king, not the magician. So the further variation of this dream, and this is, I think, the last one we have, is this one, I think, I hope. Let's see if it's that one. Yeah, here it is. The girl has a ghostly lover who lives in the moon and who comes regularly in the shallop of the new moon to receive a blood sacrifice which she has to make to him. In the interval, the girl lives in freedom among people as a human being, but at the approach of the new moon, the spirit turns her into a rapacious beast, and obeying an irresistible force, she has to climb a lonely height and bring her lover the sacrifice. This sacrifice, however, transforms the moon spirit so that he himself becomes this sacrificial vessel, which consumes itself, but is again renewed, and the smoking blood is turned into a plant-like form, out of which spring many colored leaves and flowers. Now that, how would you like to have a dream like that? That is a very elemental dream. It's just beautiful. The blood received by the psychic energy given to it, it's just, there's still a dangerously compulsive, destructive character, and it receives this independent life activity of its own through her giving it the sacrifice. Now, Emma Young compares this to Beard, the Bluebeard myth, which is this man he has the name Amandus. He lures the girl into his house, gives her wine to drink, and afterwards takes her in an underground chamber and kills her. And as he prepares himself for this, sort of intoxication overcomes the girl. In a sudden impulse of love, she embraces the murderer, who is immediately robbed of his power, dissolves into the air, and after promising to stand by her side in the future as a helpful spirit. So this was what she's comparing this to the moon dream, where after she gives this blood sacrifice, then suddenly he becomes the sacrificial vessel himself, and then all these plants and flowers grow. So this, yeah, go
Greg, I
ahead.
just wanted to mention a story I heard. I did a what's called a award for women for the UN. It's called a Millennium Peace Prize for women. And I got to go to the UN and hear the speeches of some of the women that won this award. And one of them was this astonishing story by a woman in Liberia, I believe, who was at a university when these soldiers came, shot up the university, took a bunch of students, threw them in the back of a truck, and were going to go out and execute them. And she was saying, I have a few minutes to live. What am I going to do with my last few minutes? So she started talking to the guys with the guns who are going to kill her. And she says, what are you going to do after the war? You know, what, you're not going to be a soldier. What are your dreams? And they started, one of them said, well, I wanted to be a fisherman. Another one said, I want to be a farmer. And they they took these people out to this dump where they're going to kill them. And instead, they just let them go. And this
Mhm.
woman said, um, she had she had tapped into their humanity. And it sounds to me exactly like what you're talking about here, that,
Transform them into a helpful spirit. You know,
yeah, right. The love that she provided absolutely destroyed their monstrousness.
well, that's very close. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard of Lawrence Vanderpost, but you know, he was a friend of Jung's, and he was also lived in South Africa. He was a expert on the Kalahari Bushmen. I mean, he wrote a lot of books about the praying mantis and the thing. But he was taken prisoner by the Japanese, and they would one time at this prisoner of war camp, this guy was the Japanese commander or something was going to randomly select every fifth person and execute them, you know, and one of the guys runs up to this guy, puts his arms around him and kisses him. And he was, they just, everybody laughed. You know, that's a story Lawrence Vanderpost tells. You know, it's just really beautiful, but that was beautiful too, Tim. Just this power of a breaking a possession, you know, and because the idea is well, we'll talk about it in the music aspect. We'll talk about this aspect of the transforming quality of music. Uh, so anyway, that's the sort of the dream series. Now, again, what we're showing here is this aspect of the what she's showing. This is how the animus appears in dreams. And you might say, well, this is not the Gospel of John. It's not the book of the Gospel of Logos. I don't care. That's how the animus appears in our dreams. This is the animus, you know. And so she says it's difficult to explain because contrary to what you would expect the animus to do, sometimes it leads you into, to nature and the underworld and vanishing into nature. And but this is the animus that does this, and you can see it in many places. She mentions the Dionysian myths. These women are possessed by the animus. They're possessed by Dionysus. They're called Maenads, and like in the dream of the moon, their rituals are at night and end on the mountaintop, just like this woman's dream does, and so this is the animus. This is how it appears, and sometimes leads us. It's something that leads us into nature, like the centaur, leads the woman. This type of animus. That's an animus figure, and this is how it appears in dreams. And now we're going to talk about she also talks about how it appears in fairy tales about the flute, the Pied Piper, the rat catcher of Hamelin, the waterman, the elfin king of folk songs, all employ music to lure maidens into their water or forest kingdom. And the animus lures by its flute. It's irresistibly drawn after, and they disappear into the mountain. And Orpheus could elicit such magic sounds from his lyre, and men and beasts were forced to follow him. And it's this feeling of being irresistibly lured and led away into unknown distances of water, forest, and mountains, or even into the underworld, which are animus places, okay? this is not where the it it you know, you're being led away from the immediate and the practical and the everyday, which is this world of relatedness. You're being led away, but not in one case to, you know, to some philosophical abstractness, but you're being led into these forest realms. And you know, Jung. Listen to this dream Jung had, which is a really good dream. Um, you know, Jung was um, Jung's patient initially was Tony Wolff, and he hesitated to pursue his deepening bond. There seems to be a period of no contact between them after he had dismissed her from analysis. But Jung says in the protocols that lasted 1 year. Eventually, however, he felt he simply had to reestablish contact with her because he began to experience a series of bizarre experiences from his unconscious that a relationship with her was destined to be. And one such edict came in the form of a dream in which he dreamt that he had almost lost her. It occurred roughly a year after their analysis ended. He dreamt that he and Tony were walking in the Swiss Alps, scrambling over boulders, when suddenly a band of elves appeared and began to sing, attempting to lure Tony into their mountain grotto. And Jung knew that if he allowed her to follow their siren call, he would lose her forever. In the dream, he thought to himself, this must not happen. And so, as she was just about to vanish into their mountain, he pulled her back. And after this dream, Jung confessed, he contacted it again by letter because he knew it was inevitable. You know, but that's just a really wonderful little dream. It just he was actually a living animus figure, you know, and he was seeing what would happen to Tony if he didn't contact her. So anyway, this we we'll there's the vision of where, you know, you take a drink, you go with somebody, and you think you've only been gone for an hours, and you have been gone 100 years when you come back. This is a similar dream, and it's just where we go into fairyland and we're far away. Sometimes we have a feeling of lost soul, which is about this. Where did our soul go? It went into the fairyland. You know, we were still sitting there waiting for our soul to come back, but it took 100 years for it to come back. So sometimes these visions of it disappearing in the mountain, it's not the ego that disappeared, it's our psychic energy that disappeared. So now she's talking a little bit about this attraction and abduction of music, and we can't ignore this. So music is understood as an objectification of the spirit. It doesn't express knowledge in the usual logical intellectual sense, nor does it shape matter. It's the animus. Okay, let's just hit the punchline. Instead, it gives sensuous representation to our deepest associations and our most immutable fixed laws. And, you know, our most immutable fixed laws are is our rhizome. It's our root, that massive root that lives under the earth, of which we are just the sprout that appeared above the earth. You know, that rhizome has laws, and as its sprout, we need to know what they are, and it's not easy to find out what they are. But music is very acquainted with these laws, and that's why when we hear it, and it's a fortunate rhythm, it has a great effect. So in this sense, music is spirit. Spirit leads into obscure distances beyond the reach of consciousness. Its content cannot be grasped with words, but strange to say, more easily with numbers. This is a kind of a Pythagorean thing. although simultaneously and before all else, it is comprehended with feeling and sensation, but not with intellect. Apparently, paradoxical facts like these show that music admits us to the depths where spirit and nature are still one or have become one. For this reason, music constitutes one of the most important and primordial forms in women uh, uh, for experiencing spirit, and hence also the important part which music and the dance play as the means of expression for women, the means of expression of meaning for women. It doesn't have to be in words. Ritual dance is clearly based on spiritual contact. The abduction by the spirit to cosmic musical regions remote from the world of consciousness forms a counterpoint to the conscious mentality of women. The conscious attitude, I would say, is probably better, which is usually directed more towards the very immediate and personal things, relatedness. So such an experience of abduction, however, is by no means harmless or unambiguous. On the other hand, like you saw with the Maenads, on the other hand, it may be a lapse into unconsciousness, a sinking away, sort of sleeping twilight state, slipping back into nature, equivalent to a regressions to a former level. But on the other hand, it may represent a genuine religious experience of the highest value. So, this kind of reminded me of a couple things. One was this statement by, this is from Nietzsche, that I'm talking about Dionysus. If one were to transform Beethoven's Hymn to Joy into a painting and place no constraints on one's imaginations as the millions sink into the dust, shivering in awe, then one would begin to approach the Dionysian. We just talked about that the Dionysian, going from the immediate immediate realm and personal realm into a realm far from consciousness and far from the immediate realm. That's the Dionysian, especially when it's connected with music and with nature, where music and nature are one. That it takes us to those cosmic regions. And then here he's saying that if you wanted to paint Dionysus with music, it would be the Ode to Joy. Isn't that an interesting thing? And then there's one other story I wanted to tell a little bit about this is about Helen Keller. I don't know if you guys know the story of Helen Keller, but she was just this wild beast of instinct, and Anne Sullivan had been hired to be her teacher, and she didn't know what to do. And so finally, she just goes over and grabs her, and to punish her, he puts her hand under a flowing stream of water. And then she takes her hand out of the water, and she, in sign language of the deaf, symbolizes water. Then she puts her hand under the water again, and then she symbolizes water. And then she puts her hand under it again and symbolizes water. Finally, Helen Keller knows what that means. The word and the experience, the metaphorical meaning of water and the word combined. So Anne Sullivan introduced her to Animus through the word, in her hand. So she, up to then hadn't been able to hear words, no words or anything. But anyway, that's how she got introduced to the Animus. And by the way, she was a great fan of music she would listen to Mozart by just holding the speakers, the diaphragm on the speakers, and through the vibrations of the music, she experienced all the ecstasy that you would experience in the very fortunate rhythms that are played by a master musician. You know, if you have a master musician playing a master work, and you have put away all your cell phones and put away all your distractions and focused on that. You know, I always said, you know, the first 2 hours are agony, then there's an intermission. And they don't think, it seems like they'll never end. The second 2 hours after the intermission, when you know, I've been worn down from saying I should be here, should be there, and finally I surrender. The second half, you wish it'll never end. You know, you just become caught up into it. But anyway, that was just a little bit about that. I mean, I'll just kind of finish up with now we certainly haven't finished up. I mean, this, like I say, this is a 42-page essay, but it might as well be 4,200 pages because there's so much in it, you know, to wrap your head around, you know. But I mean, she kind of ends with the fact that how she's encountered women who have differentiated the animus, which mostly was professional women, and she found that they had a dissatisfaction, a need for a personal, not now. See, this is the problem with assimilating the animus. Assimilating the animus does not mean that you become devoured by living in the business world, okay? And you become a very successful business person in the business world. That's really being devoured by the animus because it's in control, not you, okay? She says that what needs to happen is these women that she had encountered who had done that, their need was for the personal, for the immediate, for nature, for femininity, for relatedness, and they usually discovered it in when they were having a difficult relationship with a man, and it was by accident or fate they stumbled into typical feminine situations, which like Anna Marjula was not familiar with. She hadn't really done this, so this is how they stumbled into it. So she says that these women, the ones she encountered who were having these animus problems, the professional women, had a situation similar to what the man has when he's trying to assimilate the anima. He must make a sacrifice. Okay? He must sacrifice what he thinks is most valuable, his thinking, his rational, objective mind, his ability to solve quadratic equations, you know, his ability to code, whatever. That is highly compensated in the outer world. He needs to give that all up, you know, and become the vessel of the subjective, the illogical, the bound to nature, the relatedness, the feeling function. That's human. That other aspect, that's not human. It might mean a lot of change and a lot of material possessions, but it's really not human. So so these women who are in intellectual development and objective activity were really devoured by the animus. They became identical with it. So it was of greatest importance that they had a counterpoise which would keep the forces of unconscious in check and keep the ego connected with earth and with life. And that goes true for anybody, not just women. And so she says the way you do this, she says, is first you through increasing consciousness of the of a certain amount of distance. In other words, stop your projections and assimilate the shadow. And every time there's an affect, you can see, oh, like this is the fifth chakra of purgation. You know, I look at myself being angry, but that's not me. You know, no, and look at myself doing that. That's not me. I mean, this is the idea of consciousness. You see that your behaviors are not you. You've got a standpoint. So that's step one. That is to realize, to be conscious of your compulsive behaviors. And then secondly is find some work in which mental powers can be applied, where the animus can help you go towards a goal. What would be that done through that is either art or through amplifying your dreams or some kind of thing that's connected with the earth and the feeling functions. You know, so amplifying your dreams, the animus can help you amplify your dreams. You know, animus can help you, but the goal needs to be bound to the earth and bound to life of a conscious person who is aware of all their compulsive behaviors. And thirdly, she says it can't be done in isolation. It needs to be done in relationship to, you need a human bulwark and an orientation point of community in the outer world. And she said that what she had found was the relation of women to women was very becoming much more important in Switzerland at that time, where women were gathering who also were conscious, also were having the animus lead them towards a goal, and they would get together and discuss it. You know? So she said that was the third thing. So this relationship of women to women had great meaning in this connection. And then she says, when women succeed in maintaining themselves against the animus, instead of allowing themselves to be devoured by it, then it ceases to be a danger and becomes a creative power. Now, see, the animus really is directionless. The animus is directionless. The self isn't, but the animus is. You know, unless it becomes your partner leading towards a goal. But if you're not conscious and you're not going towards a goal, it marries the shadow or devours you, you know. And so strange as it may seem, only when, now she's saying this, only when you have the animus, which is the principle of meaning, helping you towards a goal, and is the soul able to carry out its proper function. So she says, for a woman to become truly be a woman in the highest sense, she needs this this objective, impersonal, rational principle of meaning to be her helper on the way to her goal. Well, that kind of sort of covers that last section. I thought maybe we could do 15 minutes or so. I think if we, why don't we do a few minutes of discussion with the recording on, then I'm going to turn it off. And because Jan will actually talk with us if we turn the recording off. But I can do that. Why don't I just do that right now? Is that okay with you, Gary? Yeah. Okay. Well, Gary, why don't you just lead the discussion and I will turn the recording off here. Let's see.